Hey everybody, it's Rob from foundingthefuture.us, and this is your 5 minutes of freedom. I'm back this time to talk about a topic that's touched everybody pretty closely, the bombings in Paris. As I'm sure you know by now, ISIS is claiming responsibility for attacks that occurred in Paris earlier this weekend. ISIS terrorists attacked civilians outside of a Paris, Germany friendly game at a cafe and at other tourist locations around the city. The world responded, and there was upheaval everywhere. As well there should be. This is the kind of response that we should have when terrorists attack us. We saw it around the world on 9/11 when we were attacked. We saw it on 7/7 when the English were attacked. And we're seeing it now on 11/13 when the French are attacked. But maybe it's not as simple as all that. Radical Islamic terrorism is an issue. This does not mean that Islam is an issue. Just like radical Christian terrorism is an issue. Whether that be fundamentalist Protestantism, like the KKK, or radical Catholicism, like the IRA. Religion, in all its fundamentalist forms, is a problem, especially when it begets violence. The concern, of course, is the response that this will have. Already, as of this recording, the French and American forces have bombed ISIS headquarters and training locations in Syria. Unfortunately, this is exactly what I feared the response would be. But it's a very visceral response to respond to violence with violence. It's perhaps the most natural human response. In all of the holy books of all of the religions, tracing back through all of history, an eye for an eye is the earliest lesson. But we have to ask ourselves, have we moved beyond that? Shouldn't we ask more of ourselves than that? Shouldn't we take a moment, just a moment, to think? The issue of this post is less about the real world and more about cyberspace. For those of you on Facebook, you may have seen your friends changing their profile pictures to have a French flag over the top of them. This is not the first time that it's occurred. On bigger issues in the past, people have been able to modify their profile pictures accordingly. Here's the problem. The last time this happened, when gender equality was legalized nationwide in the United States, thanks to the Supreme Court, we found out that Facebook was actually using this to harvest data. They wanted to find out how Americans, especially those who use Facebook, which is, let's be honest, everybody, responded to social issues in the real world, and how they could manipulate that data to do what? Make money. That's right. So once again, people were offered the opportunity to modify their Facebook profile picture to coincide with something going on in the world. And once again, millions of people responded accordingly. Now, I don't have a problem with this. I honestly don't. I stand in solidarity with Paris. I stand against terrorism, whether it be from radical Islam, radical Christianity, or otherwise. But what I want to stress is that standing with Paris has to be more than changing your profile picture. And standing against terrorism has to be more than standing with Paris. We are so easily swayed by the Fourth Estate. For those of you who don't know, the Fourth Estate is another name for the media. And it's easy for them to try and focus our attention in a place where they want it to go. What you may not know is in the hours before the Paris attacks, the people of Beirut were also attacked by ISIS. In the hours after the attack, the people in Nigeria on a school campus were attacked by forces aligned with ISIS. In fact, in the past few days, there have been attacks all around the world with forces either aligned with or sympathetic to ISIS. But what do we hear on the news? It's Paris, Paris, Paris. Now, while I think it is important to keep our focus on Paris and to make sure that we address the issues there is going to be inevitably some side effects. First, the attention span of the American people is relatively low. So while talking about Paris, we are ignoring Nigeria, we're ignoring Beirut, we're ignoring all of the other places that are having similar problems. Also, for those poor refugees who have come from Syria to Europe, I fear that they are now going to be pushed back out of Europe and sent back to Syria. The important thing to remember here is the people who are refugees in Europe are running from the same people who just attacked Paris and Nigeria and Beirut. These people are ruthless. They want to instill fear in you. Don't let them win. Back to the profile pictures. Here's my concern. Changing your profile picture is all well and good. And I appreciate those who do stand in solidarity with Paris. But it's not enough. You need to spread word about what is going on in the world. And if you don't know what's going on in the world, you need to educate yourself. There is plenty of information available. Each of us carries around in our pocket access to all the information, not only in the history of the world, but access to information about what's going on in every corner of it as we speak. That kind of access to information was the dreams of people in previous generations, and now we use it to talk about the food that we're having, or the breakups, or any number of inane things. Take the opportunity, educate yourself, learn something about what's going on in the world, not just around the corner from you. My other concern is this. When events like this happen, they can be a pot about to boil over. And things like changing your profile picture can be like putting a wooden spoon on top of that boiling pot. It can be just enough to keep some real change from happening. We change our profile picture, we pat ourselves on the back, we use the hashtag #StandWithParis, and we think we've done some good in the world. Now, back to football. I don't judge you. I'm a football fan too. It's important to have things that are fun, that distractions in our life, but we have to be sure that we're not always distracted. The other issue I have with the profile change is that Facebook never gave us the option of changing it to another country. Now, this isn't your problem, of course, but maybe you should ask Facebook, why couldn't I change it to Palestine? Why couldn't I change it to Lebanon? Why couldn't I change it to Nigeria? This entire issue has a built-in inherent racism to it. And I think it's about time we start asking those questions. It's not enough to change our profile picture. It's not enough to use a hashtag. Delve a little deeper. Find out what's going on. Educate yourselves. Don't just stand with Paris. Stand with Beirut. Stand with Nigeria. Stand with Malaysia. Stand with Iraq. Stand with Afghanistan. And stand with Palestine. It's not enough to meet injustice in one place. We have to meet injustice in every place. I stand with oppressed people everywhere. I always have, and I always will. That's it for now. For more information, check out foundingthefuture.us. This is Rob, and it's been your 5 minutes of freedom. SST 115.